Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for tuning in with me today. So in today's video, I wanted to share my favorite eyeshadow palettes for the spooky season. Halloween is literally approaching. It is right at our doorstep. And honestly, I'm excited. I'm always excited for Halloween. I really love that time of the year. I also really do like Halloween in terms of like makeup. I always feel like during Halloween, we can get so creative and it's just so much fun to create looks for Halloween. So, I went through my collection and I pulled out a bunch of eyeshadow palettes that have a little bit of a Halloween theme that I feel like could be appropriate for this time of the year. This video is solely meant to give you inspiration. Some of the eyeshadow palettes I'm going to be featuring in today's video might not be available anymore. They might have gotten discontinued, but I really tried to have a good mix of eyeshadow palettes that are still available and also some that might have gotten discontinued, that in case you have them, don't forget them just because they are a little bit older. And then also I just wanted to mention I did place an order for a couple of newer releases. However, most of these releases have not arrived at the time of me filming this video just yet. So just keep an eye out on my shorts tab. That's where I'm going to be featuring these new palettes. Some of these palettes actually do include brands like Blend Bunny, their new Divination eyeshadow palette. Of course, I did pick that one up. And then I also ordered the new eyeshadow palette by Bella Beauty Bar called Vamp. That one is giving me major Halloween vibes, so I'm a little bit disappointed that it has not arrived in time. But well, what can you do, I'm just going to be posting the looks whenever I have the eyeshadow palette in my hands. And then another palette that I ordered that is also a newer release is by Fantasy Cosmetica. And now I forgot the name of the palette. It is something with souls. I have to look that up. All right, so I just looked it up. It is called The Harvest of Souls. So that is such a stunning palette. I cannot wait to actually receive it. But I just wanted to let you know that those are palettes that, I did order, but I don't have them right now. So if you end up enjoying this video, please don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and also don't forget to ring the bell in order to get notified about my upcoming videos. And please do drop me a comment down below. Have you tried out any of the palettes that I'm featuring in today's video? And if not, what is your favorite Halloween palette? Do you have one? If so, I would be curious to know what it is. Is it something that I have in my video, or is it something completely different? You guys know I'm always looking forward to hearing from you. All right, but let's start with the very first palettes. Honestly, these are in no particular order. They are not ranked. None of that. I just pulled them out. And honestly, these are all palettes that I truly love. Maybe with one exception, but I'm gonna get to that palette. So maybe let's start off with one of the most obvious brands when it comes to Halloween eyeshadow palette releases. Most of these are actually inspired by horror movies. And you guys know, maybe you don't know, but I'm a huge fan of horror movies. I really love them. I am still waiting on a Blair Witch Project eyeshadow palette. I feel like that could be so amazing, but this brand in particular is no other one than Glamlight. So I don't have all of their Halloween themed sort of palettes. There are many, and there are also two brand new releases. I honestly did not pick them up just yet, but both of those palettes this year look so beautiful. So there was the one from the movie Halloween, such a classic, Mike Myers. I mean, you guys, this eyeshadow palette looks amazing. It looks so on point with the movie and also with this time of the year. This color story looks amazing. And then there's also the brand new Trick or Treat palette. It also just looks like a color story that you could use for so many different sort of occasions, not just for Halloween. In general, it gives me major fall vibes, and I just think it's a beautiful release. But the ones that I pulled out are the ones from last year. Again, they also have two other ones that I did not pick up, but one of my favorite ones, and let's start off with this one. And I honestly have the entire collection. I've got the lip product and I also have the mirror. And of course, this is no other than the Ghostface Lips eyeshadow palette by Glamlight. This is, of course, inspired by one of my favorite horror films, by the Scream franchise. This is so cool. I do remember when this movie was released. I think it was around the end of the 90s. It gives me major, major throwbacks. I love the movie. And I mean, look at how fun this is, right? This is such a fun palette. And this color story, honestly, it's not really what you would expect, but it's just such a versatile color story. So with this eyeshadow palette, you can get so many beautiful, cool toned looks. It is not just like a Halloween themed eyeshadow palette, but you can also use this for everyday looks. I mean, it's beautiful quality. The mattes are amazing. I love the fact that we are going from light to deep, because sometimes that's a little bit of an issue with Glamlight. I'm gonna admit that some of their palettes just lean a little bit too deep and they sort of forget to include some lighter shades. We're gonna see that with the next palette that is following up. But this is just such a dream palette. Overall, such a beautiful eyeshadow palette, not just for Halloween, but for all year round. And yeah, I love this eyeshadow palette. And wait, I'm also going to show you the mirror that I have. This is the mirror. I love it. Isn't that cool? Usually I am not big on hand mirrors, but I felt like this just got me. This is really something like so special. I also have their lip product. They had like a black lip liner with like a beautiful nudie peach matte lipstick. But also another thing is, I'm not sure if this is still around, you guys. So I don't know if you can still get this collection. If you can find it somewhere on a retailer site. I don't think this is still available on Glamlight's site. I'm not sure. But again, they also just came out with their newer collections. But if you got this palette last year, like pull it out. Pull it out all year round. It is just so beautiful. I love it. So let's move on to a palette that is also by Glamlight, but I did not rank this very high. But I know a lot of people love this, and maybe it's perfect for this time of the year. So this is the Chucky Crazy in Love palette by Glamlight. I'm not the biggest fan of this eyeshadow palette. I told you in the beginning there was one eyeshadow palette in this video that I don't love 100%, and it's actually this eyeshadow palette. I just had a little bit of a harder time with this. Nonetheless, I wanted to put it in today's video just in case if you are looking at this and you are sold. Let's have a quick look inside at this color story, and then I'm going to tell you what I don't like specifically about this palette. This is combining a gray color story with shades of burgundy, a little bit of wine red, and then we also have some deep purples in here. I mean, it is a beautiful color story. This is really gonna be a companion palette to me. I honestly feel like these shades are just too dark for me to love them on their own. I much rather have a palette that is well balanced in terms of contrast, that goes from light to very deep, and the only kind of light shade in here is this bright silver, which is beautiful. My biggest issue with this palette is also another thing about me, and this is personal preference. I don't love black-based shimmers, and this entire palette only has black-based shimmers, apart from that silver. All of the other ones have a black base to them, and it just does not look very flattering on me. But if you like that for some reason, or if you have a deeper skin tone, you know, and none of the other palettes are going to work for you, this might be perfect for you. Again, not sure if these palettes are still in existence. I don't know. And also, this really was not a Halloween release. This came out for Valentine's Day. And immediately when I saw this, I was like, this is a Halloween palette, you know? I mean, I get the anti-Valentine's Day sort of like theming. It's not for me personally, but for Halloween, they do the job, you know? So I actually have another eyeshadow palette that came out on Halloween, but it came out this year. But I feel like it's perfect for this time of the year. And it's also very similar to this color story, but a little bit more user-friendly. And also, this palette has a lot more pinks. So this one is by Kema Cosmetics, and it's the Skulls and Roses eyeshadow palette. I promise you, this is the last anti-Valentine's Day palette that I have for today's video. We are going to be moving on again to like more Halloween-themed eyeshadow palettes, but honestly, isn't this like cover giving you a little bit of like spooky season vibes? I mean, this color story is so special. It has like, again, these burgundy reds, but this time around we have a little bit of combinations with some neutral tones, a little bit of warmth in this palette. We have some stunning multi-chromes, some beautiful, beautiful shimmers. I mean, this is such a fun color story, and I think it could be perfect for spooky season. So Kmart Cosmetics is actually a UK-based brand, and this palette is still available. I actually checked their website today. It is still on there. And honestly, this palette is gorgeous though. It's really, really pretty. The only thing that I said in my review of this was the fact that there are a lot of like pink shimmers in this. But I feel like for this time of the year, you can definitely experiment with this palette. You can't go wrong. And the mattes, I love them. This formula is buildable, it's blendable, it's so, so nice. And this shade right here, Sorcery, it's my favorite shade out of this palette. The reflection of this, the shift in this, absolutely amazing. I really do adore this. All right, so let's move on to another brand that I really do adore. And I think at this point in time, both of these palettes are still available on their website, if I'm not mistaken. These were Halloween releases from last year, and I'm talking about Odin's Eye and the collaboration with Angelica Nyquist, and this is the Trick or Treat palette, and we also have the Little Ghost palette. Now, if I'm going to be honest with you, last year I did not pick them up immediately. I picked them up like earlier this year. My favorite one of the two is definitely the one that reminds me a little bit more of Halloween, and that is the Trick or Treat palette. I think this color story is really beautiful for this time of the year. Sometimes when I'm looking at the color story, it almost gives me Christmas vibes, but really the intensity of these eyeshadows, you know, the pigmentation, you know, the brightness, the colorfulness of this entire palette. At the end of the day, I would not want to wear this for Christmas. It's so beautifully curated. It also goes from light to deep. I love that about this palette. Oh my gosh, and some of these shimmers are out of this world beautiful. This is my favorite one out of the two, but I'm also going to show you real quick this Little Ghost palette. I did feature this palette in my summer eyeshadow palettes. In my recommendations for color stories that, you know, I like reaching for in the summertime, because really, I don't know, this is not giving me major Halloween vibes. It's just not. I mean, it's a beautiful palette, right? But I want to reach for this during the summertime. So I just wanted to show you this color story just in case you're interested in this palette. So yeah, don't sleep on them because I'm not sure how long they are still going to be available. So let's move on to the next brand, and oh my gosh, these two palettes. Love them. Love them so, 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 so much. These are just out of this world beautiful, and we are going to be talking about Nomad Cosmetics. So let's talk about the palette that they launched last year first. So this is the Ghost Town USA eyeshadow palette. I really love this eyeshadow palette. Just look at that. The theming, the packaging, incredible. And again, this is like a beautiful, more cool toned leaning eyeshadow palette. It can be used for Halloween. You can use this for all year round. I created looks with this throughout the year. I just think this is so well curated. It is giving you like this beautiful, cool toned mystery, like the ghost side of it, you know. And I just really have to say this quality is Nomad at its best. This palette definitely has their newer formula, the one that I adore. I feel like the shimmers are so sparkly, so smooth, so beautiful. You know, these are not like chunky sort of like particles in there. They look so elegant on your eyes. The mattes, so blendable, so silky. I think this shade right here is the only one that has a little bit of a shift to it. But in general, this is not a palette full of multi-chromes. Really not. This is a little bit more like user-friendly, I want to say. But it's not like a palette full of like special shades, but these are special in their own way, okay? I did create like a really fun look with this last year, where I did combine, I think, some of these more rusty, coppery tones with some of this like antique, olive green leaning shades. It looked a lot like Halloween, so you can definitely create something like that, but you can also create something very like cool toned neutral. So I'm not sure if this is still available, because this is a palette, mind you, that sells out really, really quickly. When I was online, and I think they released this in September, I actually picked up the palette that I did not have from the year prior. So this was from 2023, and I think the one that I picked up this year was from 2 years ago, from 2022, and that is the Haunted Europe eyeshadow palette. I always wanted this eyeshadow palette, so I did pick it up this year. I finally made the jump and bought it. It's so beautiful. This is more like traditional Halloween. I really feel like this palette is divided into two sides. On the left, we really have like the pumpkin theme. When I say pumpkin theme, really, I mean orange and green and a little bit of brown, and that's what this is giving me. And on the right, we have again these beautiful, like cool tones. Some of these beautiful, like grayy purple shades, and I actually filmed a couple of looks with this, so I'm gonna try my best and upload those before Halloween is happening. The shimmers here are a little bit less impactful than in the Ghost Town USA. The Ghost Town USA is just a little bit more sparkly. It's a little bit more wow wow woom. This is a little bit more subdued. Nonetheless, I was still very much impressed with this palette and with the quality of these shades. And I absolutely love this. Again, I have created some beautiful looks with this thus far, and I'm going to create more looks with this. Because this was the one palette that I always wanted by Nomad Cosmetics, and it was sold out for the longest time. So I am so, so happy that I finally have it now and that I picked it up this year because stunning, 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 stunning. So let's move on to the next brand. And I feel like the next brand overall is the one brand that almost incorporates the spirit of Halloween throughout the entire year, because they just have this like dark moodiness about them. I just love their style. I'm just such a sucker for this brand, honestly. This brand is everything. It's one of my favorite brands. You have seen this on my channel a lot. And I'm also wearing this brand on my eyes today. I'm wearing their newer release, and I'm also wearing this brand on my lips. I literally was like, I want to wear this brand for this video. And so let's actually start talking about their brand new eyeshadow palette. Thus far, I've only created this look. I've used this palette today for the first time. I cannot wait to create more looks with this, because when I saw this sneak peek, my jaw dropped. It really did drop. So this is by, of course, Unearthly Cosmetics, and this is the Gargoyle eyeshadow palette. This eyeshadow palette, dream come true. Really, a dream come true. This is such a pretty color story. I also feel like, I mean, the look that I did today, you know, on purpose, I did it more like Halloween themed, like a little bit more dark and smoky. But you could do some neutral looks with this. You could use this throughout the entire year. But wow, are these special. These shades are so beautiful. These are like muted neutrals with pops of like steel blue, a deep violet shade, some lilacs. I mean, it's incredible what this color story is giving me. You can go so many different ways with this palette. Again, I used this today for the first time. This is one of my newer purchases, but when I saw this, I was like, man, this is so stunning. This brand is just delivering. This formula, their color stories, they are so on point, and I'm using them throughout the entire year. Also, what I'm wearing on my lips is by Unearthly Cosmetics. Actually, they brought out some new satin liquid lipsticks, and I used the shade Grim. This one right here. And I also used one of their lip liners to create this look. This is their lip pencil in the shade Cursed. I mean, this is taupey. It is almost borderline gray. And I just love this combination. Really loving the look that I went for today, but it's due to this beautiful palette. And I could have chosen so many palettes by them. So I'm not sure if you can still get the palettes I'm about to show you, but if I feel like Halloween, these would be the ones that I would pull out. So I actually did pull out the collection that was released last year for Halloween, and this is such a stunning palette. Like, this is beautiful. It's giving a complete different vibe here. But this is the Devour eyeshadow palette by Unearthly. This is inspired by like Venus Flytrap. Like, I love Venus flytraps. This color story is really for those who love green, who love something like, again, these like wine purpley shades. I just think the theming of the Venus flytrap really comes to life when you're looking at a color story. Some of these iridescent shades here are so out of this world beautiful. I've created some beautiful looks with this palette. I've also uploaded them over on my Shorts tab if you want to go and check them out. I think it could be so much fun for Halloween. It's just such great quality too. So this is also the newer formula by Unearthly, the formula that I adore and I love, and I think this is Unearthly at their best. Again, not sure if you can still get this one. And most likely the next two palettes are not available anymore. They are from prior Halloween releases from prior years. I think this one is gonna be from 2022. I picked this one up at a later date because I have a little bit of a different cover, but this palette is inspired by one of my favorite movies of all time, and this palette is inspired by Queen of the Damned. So this is the Warms My Blood eyeshadow palette. Queen of the Damned, oh my gosh, it's giving me such major flashbacks to when I was a teenager. That movie was released and I loved the soundtrack. The soundtrack of that movie, until this day, that movie has the best music ever written for a motion picture. It is just incredible. Incredible artists, beautiful vampire sort of music. Like it sounds like from a different century mixed in with the music that I was into back in, when was that movie released? 2004, I suppose? No, 2002? Oh my gosh. I feel so old right now. That's kind of crazy. So 20 years later, Unearthly Cosmetics came out with this eyeshadow palette, and it's inspired by, of course, the movie, vampires, blood, I mean, Lestat, and just the shade names of this. We have this entire bloodthirsty vampire row right here, and then we have this antique, like old-fashioned, almost like from a different sort of like period, like these more like neutral shades, these warm neutral shades right here. So this color story, beautiful, right? Gives you major like Halloween vibes. I mean, I have worn this palette on multiple occasions, and one of the occasions was I actually went to a Slipknot concert. I have seen Slipknot so many times. And the last time I saw them was last year, and I did use this eyeshadow palette. I used some of these reds with the black. I just felt like the look that I did was so appropriate for a Slipknot concert. So yeah, I did reach for this palette. I will say, I honestly wish that they could come out with this eyeshadow palette again with their newer formula. Although this is a beautiful eyeshadow palette, I just feel like the shimmers, some of them, they are not that great, especially like this satin formula that they had back in the day. Not my favorite one, but yeah, the shimmers have come such a long way, and although they look insanely beautiful, I feel like these other two palettes with the new formula, Devour and Gargoyle, are just extra special. But nonetheless, I love this palette just because of the theming. I had to include this. And, you know, the next palette is even older. I think this was from 2021. This is the Hauntingly Glamorous palette by Unearthly. This was in collaboration with Sydney Nicole. This palette is very special. I really like it. I just wanted to feature it in case you have this beautiful palette. Don't forget about it. Pull it out for Halloween because this is giving you such a different vibe. This is very different from all of the other eyeshadow palettes that I've showed you thus far. This is more of like a matte heavy palette, but the tones of the mattes, oh my gosh, so special. This is beautiful. I'm so upset that this is not available anymore because I really feel like this was so unique and so cute, so beautiful. And although this is a little bit of an older palette, I will say the quality of this was top notch, and it's still top notch. Again, Unearthly, oh my gosh, like they are killing it, okay? In terms of like their originality, their creativity when it comes to creating palettes, themes, all of that. I just love them. I just really do adore this brand. So let's move on to the next brand, and this is another brand that I love. And they have two palettes that I picked out for today's video that were released for Halloween, and they are just so on point, one more than the other though. So this is of course by Gourmand Girls, and I pulled out the Haunted eyeshadow palette. This was their release from last year. I mean, this is so cute. I had this in my videos on my Shorts tab and also in some of my ranking videos. I will say maybe it's not my favorite color story in the world for Halloween. It really depends what you want for Halloween. But you know, I mean, it's cute. I will say a little bit more pink heavy than some of the other palettes. We have these more like deep and grungy sort of shades right here. My only beef with this palette is the fact that we have like these olive tones, and for some of you this might be perfect. On me, it's a shade that does not look very flattering. This formula by Gourmand Girls is out of this world. They have such an amazing formula. The mattes, blendable, buildable, the shimmers, intense, sparkly, just so amazing on the lids. Like, they are gonna give you a little bit of that glossy effect, but the one that I love more is the one from the year prior to this one. If you don't know what to buy, if you want a Halloween eyeshadow palette, I'm telling you, this is it. This is probably, I don't want to say it's like my all-time favorite one, but in terms of color story, this is the most universal one. When I'm looking at this, I see Halloween straight away. So I'm of course talking about the Spooked eyeshadow palette by Gourmand Girls. This is it for Halloween. Like, you can't have a Halloween video without this palette, okay? It's just giving you everything that you ever wanted for Halloween. Just look at this color story. I mean, isn't this fun? This is just such a cute palette. This palette is so pretty. I wore this actually last year for Halloween, and I'm always tempted to pull this out because it's just giving me Halloween vibes. I think this is so cute, and the quality is really what draws me in with Gourmand Girls. I think they have an amazing quality. I mean, if you put these two palettes together, you have one big Halloween sort of eyeshadow palette, and you can definitely use these as companion palettes. I think both of them are going to work so well with each other, and that's also very special about them. All right, so I'm left with a few more palettes here. I also pulled out this palette from last year. This is by Colourpop, and this is their Welcome Foolish Mortals eyeshadow palette in collaboration with the Haunted Mansion movie. So this palette was also featured on my channel last year. This is, again, a beautiful color story, but it's also, I would say, a little bit more everyday user-friendly. You don't necessarily have to use this for Halloween, but you could, and you can create some beautiful looks with this. The quality of this eyeshadow palette is Colourpop at its best. This is one of my favorite palettes that Colourpop has ever created. And if you are on a budget and you want something that you can use for Halloween, but you also want to use this, you know, for like everyday looks, you could do that, because this palette is really good in the sense that it goes from light to very deep. And I honestly really enjoyed this palette. This is such a good palette. Like, I think it's beautiful. Again, it has this more desaturated color story. You guys know I love muted cool tones, and yeah, this is just so much fun. I really like it. I also picked up their new Halloween release. I've not tried this out, I've not swatched it, but it's literally right here. And that is the Colourpop Stranger Things eyeshadow palette. Oh my gosh, this one, wow. When I saw that they collaborated with Stranger Things, I was like, I need this palette. I need this palette. So cool. I think the color story, let's have a look inside. I mean, mine is completely unused because I just did not get around like using this. Again, I told you I am so behind with using the new eyeshadow palettes. Rest assured, I'm going to be featuring this on my channel as well. I just wanted to quickly show you this. I think it's a beautiful color story, really on point with Stranger Things as well. I have to see if I like this or not. I don't know anything about the quality. I can't say anything. Have not touched this yet. Have not swatched it yet. I don't know, but it's gonna come up. So just letting you know, if you are a little bit on a tighter budget, maybe look into these palettes. This one, I've created so many looks with this. Love it. Really do. The Stranger Things one, we'll have to see what it's like. But yeah, then another eyeshadow palette that I really do adore. This is so beautiful. And this is, I don't know if this was necessarily a Halloween release. Maybe it was a Halloween release last year. I can't really remember it too well. But this is by Luna Beauty, and it's the Siren Sunset eyeshadow palette. You guys, this packaging, stop it. So beautiful. This color story is giving me like dark secret nymph sort of vibes. It is such a beautiful color story. Again, we have these beautiful cool tones at the top, and then we have some very, very stunning like pops of violet, a little bit of green, teal, and then some electric blues mixed into this. I think again, this is also a palette that you could definitely use for Halloween, but you could also use this throughout the year easily, right? But you could definitely like do some very stunning, dark, somber, mysterious sort of looks with this. I think if you wanted to pull this out for Halloween, you can't go wrong. You can definitely create some mesmerizing looks. A little bit in a different direction than some of these other palettes, you know. This does not have like an orange or a red, but nonetheless, it's a beautiful palette and I wanted to feature this. But I also pulled out a palette that I don't even think that this was a Halloween release. It's also a little bit older. This is a little bit more if you are new to makeup. If you are more of a beginner with eyeshadow palettes, this is also from a UK-based brand. So this is by Artitude Cosmetics and it's the Phoenix Born from the Ashes eyeshadow palette. I don't hear many people talking about this. This is a little bit of an older palette. I think this was no, I don't think it was the brand's first palette. I can't remember. Anyway, here's the palette. Has a phoenix theme, and honestly, if you are looking at the inside this color story, it kind of gives me Halloween vibes. This color story has a lot of different things going on. There are some neutrals. We have this orangey yellow. We have a pop of like neon orange in here. We have some red. We have a black. I mean, you could definitely create some beautiful looks for Halloween with this. Ever since Artitude Cosmetic has released this palette, they have improved their formula. Their newer formula is amazing. I did feature the Man Eater palette and I also did pick up the Fall Obsession palette by them. And they also have more new eyeshadow palettes, okay? Some of these are satins, other ones are a little bit on the sparklier side, like these shades right here. They have different formulas in this palette, right? And so it's really up to you. I just wanted to feature this palette just to give you an option. If you are not vibing with any of these other palettes and you are new to makeup, I would say purchase this. If you are more experienced with indie makeup, like don't buy this. Don't buy this because you might get disappointed. For the mattes, they are fine. The mattes are good. I love the matte formula. The shimmers are a little bit more on the lackluster side compared to everything else that I've got here. Another eyeshadow palette that I have not tried out yet, but I'm very familiar with this brand, is by Martin Cosmetics. Martin Cosmetics was kind of under the radar this year. I don't even think that they had released many like new eyeshadow palettes. I really was not sure if I ever wanted to pick up more eyeshadow palettes by them. Again, if you are a beginner in makeup, this is a really fantastic brand. It's a little bit more high up in price compared to Artitude Cosmetics. But, you know, they came out with a Halloween release this year. But when I saw this palette, I was like, oh, maybe I want to try Martin Cosmetics this year again. See if they have changed something. I will say this packaging is giving me the creeps. It is giving me the creeps, especially the outer box. I'm going to keep this outer box though, because it's so creepy. So this is the Martin's Circus Show eyeshadow palette by Martin Cosmetics. They have a lot of different cool themes when it comes to their eyeshadow palettes. Guys, this packaging is giving me the creeps. This clown, and usually I'm not scared of clowns at all. I mean, I'm not scared, but what the heck? This opens up. Check it out. Check it out. I can't get rid of this packaging because it is just too unique. It's a lot of originality went into this, creating this. I mean, come on. This is the opening. This is so cool though. Like honestly, I think it's quite cool. So I'm gonna pull this out and also it's gonna say Showtime. Now, another thing what was really cool was that this came with a very creepy ticket to the circus. So I have a ticket now for the circus, and it also came with something like a postcard. Listen, this is like really, really creepy. Oh my goodness. But let's have a look at this palette inside. Again, I've not tried this out yet. This is a very colorful eyeshadow palette. It does not really scream like necessarily Halloween to me, but it's also like a creepy circus sort of theme. And I think for the theme, This is really, really cool. What I really like about their palettes in general is the fact that they always, always include a white and a black. So you can make anything like brighter, or you can really deepen things up. It's not necessarily giving me like the darkness, the smokiness. It gives me a little bit of like the insanity, the craziness for Halloween. So maybe this could be really fun. So I want to try this one out. So this is going to be another one that you're going to be seeing on my channel very, very soon, I promise. So the only two palettes in this video that I have not tried out yet are these two. The Stranger Things palette and this one. But everything else I've played around with. I mean, the Gargoyle palette, rest assured, I'm going to be posting more looks with this, and I'm going to be playing with this very, very soon as well. So just keep an eye out on my channel. I mean, let me know, you guys. Do you agree with my recommendations? Do you have any of these palettes? Let me know in the comment section down below. And also, if you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to ring that bell in order to get notified about all of these looks that I'm going to be creating with these fun Halloween eyeshadow palettes. And I'm wishing you a happy spooky season. So hopefully I'm going to see you on here very, very soon again. And until next time, please do take care. Thank you so much for watching.